It's conference championship weekend. The NFL title games in the NFL were down to 4 teams. And what interests me about these two games that we have this year in 2023 is we haven't seen these matchups in the regular season. So there is some mystery. Sometimes it is great when there's a regular season game that's very close and you get to see them go at it again in the playoffs. Not this time. 49ers and Lions. That's the first game. And the weather for this one, wow, it's incredibly mild, even for the Bay Area. The temperatures that I was looking at for tomorrow's game, 73, maybe 74 degrees in Santa Clara. I mean, that is warm, even for here. A little different in Baltimore and Kansas City. It's going to be in the 40s with a good chance of some rain. And I think that does matter. The forecasts matter when you're down to championship games. I mean, it mattered last week when the 49ers faced the Packers. It threw the 49ers off and Brock Purdy struggled. It's going to be a dry and mild game in Santa Clara. Before we get into that, I want to give a little history about the 49ers and the Lions. Well, we know the history of the 49ers. This is a franchise that was the first to ever win 5 Super Bowls. They were a dynasty. They were great in the 80s, great in the 90s, and they've been knocking on the door, trying to get that 6th Super Bowl for years, and have come closer to getting it without success more times than anyone. They keep falling short. And that's been my lifetime as a 49er fan. I started watching the team. I was just old enough after that 94 season. So conference championships, this is the 19th conference championship the 49ers have been in. That's a record, and it's not particularly close. 19 championship games, at least if you're talking about the NFC. Cowboys, Packers, they have not come close to 19 championship game appearances, and there have been more losses than wins. This is the 19th, so there have been 18, and the 49ers have only gotten through 7 times. They won their first 5, they've lost their last 2, and then when you look at the Detroit Lions, their last championship appearance was in 1991 against the Washington Redskins. They lost. The Redskins went on to beat the Bills in the Super Bowl. That was the second time the Bills lost with that group, which I think still should get our respect. There is no reason to hang your head after 4 straight conference champions, or forget that, 4 Super Bowl championship appearances. The 49ers and Lions played each other twice in playoff history. First was in 1957. This is before the Super Bowl. It was for the NFL championship. And the Lions won it all in 1957. And the 49ers and Lions faced each other actually at Kezar Stadium. It still stands. It's been a long time since professional football has been played there, but it's still there in San Francisco. The Lions won. They won it all in 1957. And then the two teams played each other again in 1983 in the divisional round 40 years ago, where the 49ers won. They held on by as small of a threat as you could on a missed field goal. The Lions should have won that game. It didn't ultimately matter because the 49ers would lose to the Redskins themselves in the 83 championship game. And then the Redskins were trying to repeat. They won in 82. And then the Los Angeles Raiders just destroyed them in the Super Bowl. Marcus Allen run. I've seen it 300 times. You know what I'm talking about. I don't think anyone was going to beat the Raiders that year. At least not in the NFC. So the Lions won the North. The 49ers won the West. And I thought, honestly, it was going to be 49ers and Eagles to start the year. The way things were going, I thought it was going to be 49ers and Cowboys at the end of the regular season. Instead, we have the Lions and the 49ers. It's going to be different for the Lions because they played all their playoff games to this point, the 2 this year at home, inside. So they're going to go outside and play on grass, where I think it's going to be a little more difficult for them. Jared Goff has played very well at home, but what we have is we have 2 tough teams here. Dan Campbell obviously is a tough guy and a tough personality. Kyle Shanahan doesn't come across that way. Kyle Shanahan is really a play caller. He's some people feel he's a glorified offensive coordinator, but what we've had all these years in San Francisco, though, Kyle Shanahan's teams have been tough. They've been tough, and they've been very good in the trenches. And I believe, before we get into details of this game is won in the trenches. More than last week with the 49ers and the Packers, more than with the Buccaneers and the Lions, because you have 2 teams that are so physical. The Lions' strength is their offensive line. Sewell, the best right tackle in football. This is a strong unit. This is a team that likes to run the ball. They got Montgomery, they got Gibbs, and they got St. Brown and Laporta. I mean, they have weapons. Both these teams have weapons. Jared Goff's hot right now. He's been rolling. He's confident. He has the support of his team. And when the Lions have the ball, this is going to be the game, I think, more than any point, where they're going to just try and shove it down the 49ers' throat. They are going to run it, and they're going to be committed to running the ball. And can the 49ers stop the run? The 49ers have struggled to stop the run all year long, which is different. All these years under Shanahan, well, let's just say 19, 21, 22, 49ers have been excellent against the run. Not this year. It has been different. I would say they're better in coverage. But can the 49ers stop the Lions' run? And will the Lions be patient? And will they commit enough to the run? I mean, big matchup in this game is you look at Gibbs, who can be used as a receiver, who's got home run speed, going the distance. He's got excellent speed. See him matched up against the linebackers, the 49ers. And then also Sam Laporta. You're going to see Fred Warner be responsible for those 2 throughout the game, and then of course also Dre Greenlaw. So Laporta and Gibbs versus, I think when you're talking about passing, versus Warner and Greenlaw, and then who's going to cover St. Brown, who's one of the best receivers in the game. 49ers have 2 very good corners in Ward and Lenore, but are they going to get him matched up on Ambry Thomas? I don't know. So the Lions, they got to be going in this game saying, we're going to run the ball, and we're going to believe we can run the ball and do that effectively. So the 49ers, what's their strategy going to be? Well, get pressure at the front 4, which they did not do a very good job on when they were up against Green Bay. I mean, Nick Bosa was really the only one that showed up. Chase Young, I mean, a lot of people have been on Chase Young this week, and rightfully so. He's been disappointing, downright disappointing. This was his second chance with a new team, and outside of the first week or 2, very little impact. Javon Hargrave, at times, has been good. He has not been as good as I thought, even though he was selected the Pro Bowl. I think he could be better. And then Eric Armstead has been playing hurt. It's hard to know exactly how healthy he is. The 49ers want to get pressure at the front 4 because they can't just let Jared Goff be comfortable. Right? He can move a bit in and out of the pocket, but obviously you're not going to have to worry about him taking off and running. And you have to take him out of a rhythm, too. He's been on a good rhythm. He's not turning the ball over. So the 49ers are going to look to make him uncomfortable, disrupt him early. That didn't happen. I said the same thing against Jordan Love last week, and Jordan Love didn't make mistakes in the second half of the game. He got off to a good start. And, who's also in this game getting touchdowns and who's settling for field goals? 49ers defense last week, and it was huge, they were able, though the Packers moved the ball, they were able to force them into field goals, and they had good red zone defense. Now, when the 49ers have the ball, Deebo Samuel's playing. That's big for them. The Lions' strength is up front on their offensive line. Can the 49ers win that matchup, or are they going to lose that matchup? I definitely favor the Lions' offensive line the way it's going. Can the 49ers force Goff to make a mistake? Can they knock the ball out? Can they get an interception? How about this? And you have two great pass rushers. You have two great pass rushers and you have two great tackles. So for the Lions, it's Sewell. Who's going to be up against Sewell? Will it be Chase Young? Will it be Nick Bosa? I'd say for the 49ers, I would like to see more stunts. I would like to see them change. How about just be more creative? That's what I'm getting at. Be more creative with stunts. Where you line guys up on the defensive line. Don't be so predictable. For the 49ers on offense, I wonder where Aiden Hutchinson's going to be lining up. I would assume it's going to be on McKivitz. And McKivitz, for all the criticism he received and people doubted him at the start of the season, really held up quite well. I mean, the only game I can remember him being bad in was against TJ Watt week 1, but isn't that the case with almost everyone? I mean, TJ Watt dominates nearly everyone he faces. So where will Hutchinson line up? And can the Lions stop the 49ers, especially when they run on that left side with Williams and Banks? They had more success actually running different places, not just from the left, but they attacked the middle and even some on the right against the Packers. Because, Hutchinson's outstanding. The Lions are coached well. I think the secondary tackles well. And better than some teams. And they got hitters. At least you can say they got hitters in that secondary with Gardner Johnson back there. Who is going to shut down the middle of the field better? Because both these teams do like the middle of the field with Laporta and Kittle and then McCaffrey for the 49ers. Can the Lions take away part of the middle of the field, as teams have tried to with Brock Purdy? I think the 49ers do, is even though their offensive line isn't a great strength, as long as they keep Hutchinson in check, they'll have a good day. They'll have a good day with Kittle and McCaffrey and Deebo and being balanced. And as long as they don't turn the ball over, as long as we don't see a bad game, and Purdy looks more like Brock Purdy, the 49ers will be able to move the ball on the Lions, honestly, like they can on just about every defense in the league. So will the Lions sell out to try and stop the run? Brandon Ayuk's got to have a bigger week. I think the 49ers feel they can run the ball. I mean, they believe they can run the ball every week. They can run the ball, but they can also attack the linebackers of the Lions, to me, who are just an average group. I'm not saying they're a bad group, but I think they're an average group. And make them tackle. They're a very physical team. They tackle all right, but no one's better after yards after the catch than the 49ers playmakers. Nobody. Kittle, Deebo, McCaffrey, and then you got the smooth Brandon Ayuk. Brock Purdy did not have a good game. He had a very, in my opinion, until the end, he was having a bad day, honestly. I thought it was his worst game of the season, considering it was at home. Those turnovers he had against the Ravens, okay, some were on him. You could even argue one of them, those picks, was on him in the Christmas Day game. But the fact that he was so inaccurate, if Brock Purdy is on and he's sharp and he's making those intermediate throws, the 49ers could win by 2 scores. They could. I don't see any reason why they couldn't, though I like the Lions. There's a lot to like about the Lions. The fact that it is on San Francisco, they're playing on grass, and you're moving the Lions outdoors, and you have the extra day of rest too. The 49ers do have the extra day of rest. And when I'm looking at the 2 rosters, the Lions are very talented. The 49ers are still the more talented team. I like the 49ers. There's just so many players for the Lions to have to try and contain. You stop McCaffrey, but then can you stop Kittle and Debo and Ayuk and even Jennings? I mean, Jennings stepped up. They have all those guys ready to go. That's just too much for the Lions. And as long as the 49ers can keep Hutchinson in check, I just don't see where the pressure is going to come. And Brock Purdy is very good against the blitz. I do know this, and you watch the film, you look at the games, the Lions love blitzing cornerbacks and players from the secondary. That is not going to work this week against the 49ers. So where's the other pressure going to come if they contain Hutchinson? I don't know. But I think the 49ers will burn those corner blitzes that the Lions like to bring, either from corner or safety. That is not a good recipe for the Lions. So what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to get creative, yeah, but they're going to have to find ways to force turnovers. More important for the Lions to force turnovers than the 49ers. So I like the 49ers in this one. I'm going to say 31-21. 49ers. 31-21, 34, 35-24. I like a 10-point victory. The Lions will probably keep it closer in the first half. 49ers can put their foot down and separate themselves in the second half. What's also very interesting too is that you have 2 very different coaching styles here, because you have the more conservative Kyle Shanahan and then you have the very aggressive Campbell. We'll see how aggressive he gets, how early he gets aggressive, and then what Kyle Shanahan is willing to do in response. Will he be more aggressive? Because the pressure in this game is absolutely on the 49ers. They've been so close so many times. This is their time to do it. This is their time to win. All right, let's get over to the AFC now, where you have the Ravens and Chiefs. I've been looking forward to this game, as I said, for years. We didn't get to see it in 2019, but we get to see it this year. Chiefs and Ravens, you have 2 great quarterbacks, but they do it differently. Mahomes, he's more of your traditional pocket passer first. He runs when he needs to, and he's a magician out there. Then you got Lamar, who is, when you look at his passing, his technique is ugly. You'd never teach anyone to do it that way, but he gets it done. Then you have his running ability. He is the greatest running quarterback the game's ever seen. It's not just a matter of speed. He knows when to run. He knows how to pick the right hole and expose the defense. These are 2 quarterbacks who've been MVPs. And there's more pressure on Lamar than Mahomes. Mahomes has gone all the way 2 times. Lamar's never made it to the Super Bowl. The Ravens are the number 1 seed. I mean, make no mistake, the pressure is on the 49ers and the pressure is on the Ravens this weekend. It's on them to win. They're the top seeds, and they haven't done it yet. The Chiefs have done it. The Lions are a young team ahead of schedule. The Chiefs had a great win on the road against the Bills, finally having a road playoff game, and they took care of business, and they won in Buffalo. The Ravens got off to a little slow start against the Texans, but they look like the Ravens again in the second half. So with all that said, and a lot of experts I've seen are picking the Chiefs, I'm going with the Ravens. I like the Ravens because they are a more complete team than the Chiefs. It's remarkable what the Chiefs have done this year, considering this is the worst year they've had in this run. Yet here they are back in the championship game yet again. I think it's going to end this week, though. It's been a nice year, what they've been able to do under the circumstances, but the Ravens are the best team in football. None of these quarterbacks this weekend turn the football over. See that in common? Goff, it at least hasn't been doing it recently. Purdy, throw that Ravens game out, he doesn't turn the football over. Patrick Mahomes threw more interceptions than we're accustomed to seeing him throw, but he sure looks sharp these last 2 weeks. He looks more like the Patrick Mahomes we know. And Lamar he throws so few interceptions. You have 2 very good defenses, though. I mean, what's the difference in this one compared to other Chiefs teams is this is arguably, and I wouldn't just say arguably, this is the best Chiefs defense during this run. And they shut out the Bills in the fourth quarter in Buffalo. The Ravens, what they can do that the Bills could not do is I think they're going to limit Travis Kelce. It's just going to be he might get catches and then down. They tackle well, and they're so good in the middle of the field when you have Hamilton, you have Queen, and you have Roquan Smith, and they don't have any problem getting to the quarterback. The Chiefs can keep it close, yes. But the Ravens, I see, if anyone wins by a touchdown or more, it's the Ravens. And the Chiefs' defense is going to keep them in the game. When the Ravens have the ball, is they still feel good about Lamar running because although the Chiefs have a good defense, it's not the fastest of defenses. And to me, that's where Lamar is going to have success. And he's just going to be able to make the plays again like he usually does. He'll make enough throws. He'll run on the ground. And the Chiefs are going to have to play their best defensive game of the year. And I just don't see them having the personnel to be able to have an answer for Lamar Jackson. I don't. I think the Chiefs on offense are going to have a hard time because once the Ravens at least limit Travis Kelce, where are they going to go? I mean, Pacheco is banged up. They're not going to run the ball that effectively. This is going to be a game where the Chiefs are going to have to earn everything. And Mahomes is going to have to be near perfect. I think the Chiefs can get away with, or the Ravens can get away with maybe a turnover in this one. I think the Chiefs are going to have to play almost a perfect game on offense. And there's almost no margin for error. So I like the Ravens. In this one, I'm going to say 24-17. This is going to be lower scoring than the NFC game. But the Chiefs, once you take Kelsey out, I just keep saying to myself, looking at this, and if they're not going to run the ball effectively, which I don't see them having a big day running, who's going to step up? I just don't know who's going to step up for the Chiefs. The Ravens defense is going to make things very difficult. But the thing is, though, for both these games, the home teams need to start well. I think it's more important for the Ravens to start off, because you just can't start off well, because you just can't let Patrick Mahomes hang in there. You can't let him just get in a groove. You have to do something to strike, get the ball first. And that's important in a lot of games, but against the Chiefs, the Ravens have to bring an A- game. It doesn't have to be their absolute best game, but they have to have like an A- game at the least to win this. To me, the Chiefs have to bring almost their AA+ game. So the difference in this one is going to be Lamar. Lamar and his running will be the difference in the championship game. The Chiefs are so well coached. You got two excellent Hall of Fame coaches in the AFC. Andy Reid, his resume speaks for itself. John Harbaugh, he has only been to one Super Bowl, but his record is excellent, and he's in the championship game. And most likely after tomorrow, this will be his second Super Bowl appearance. It's a draw at head coach. There's no coaching advantage. Just like the weapons that we don't usually talk about them being weapons on defense, but I see them that way. The Ravens defenders, those three in the middle of the field, are going to make it very challenging and uncomfortable for the Chiefs. Those two linebackers, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, and then Hamilton back at safety. Yeah, it's just going to come down to that. Lamar is going to be able to run, and the Chiefs aren't going to be able to keep up on defense. I mean, I like Chris Jones, I like Bolton, but there's just not enough speed on defense. And then if it's a close game, the Ravens got the best kicker in the game, arguably the best kicker ever in Justin Tucker. Both these teams can play in the cold. Both these teams can play in the weather. That doesn't matter. But if it's a wet game, a soggy game, again, I think that's an advantage to the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. So those are my picks. I'm saying it's going to be a 49ers-Ravens Super Bowl. I think the league would like to see, if they had to pick one matchup, Lions and Chiefs. If you just get Patrick Mahomes in, that's great, and then you get the good story of the Lions. I mean, we've already seen the Ravens just blow away the Lions. It was a long time ago. To me, that's the worst matchup. The 49ers and Ravens, if they faced each other in the Super Bowl, more likely you're going to get a closer game the second time around. But Chiefs and Lions, that's the league's choice. And around the country, people want to see the Lions get, and I can understand. I certainly can understand. As a 49ers fan, hey, I've said we've been in the championship game so close, more than any other team. We need to get it done. But the Lions have never won a Super Bowl, never got to a Super Bowl. The Ravens and Chiefs have won recently. But with that said, I'm saying 49ers, Ravens, Super Bowl.